So you mentioned that we do not have jurisdiction in regards to Mauna Kea. And does that apply to the Mauna Kea access road that we maintain currently?
We do have the responsibility and agreement that we maintain the access road. Authority of that road belongs to the state.
Okay. But as far as jurisdiction in the state lands and Department of Hawaiian Homelands, we do not have jurisdiction.
That's correct.
And that begins at as soon as you leave the highway?
I leave approximately the 26-mile marker or so.
Okay. If there was an emergency on Mauna Kea, just speaking on behalf of public safety, I would assume that the county would not hesitate to respond.
Not at all, as we have in the past many times, whether it be individual ski or anything else.
What is the mechanism that allows us to work within that jurisdiction, although it is not our jurisdiction?
I'm not sure how I can answer that, except there is no jurisdiction when it comes to government of the county government responding to people in need. I don't think there is any limitation of place unless the private property owner, won't allow us in there. Now that could possibly be a different ballgame. But I don't think even that, if there was a decision made by fire or police that there is an emergency, I think they can just go in. I have attorneys back there, but I'm pretty sure that has been asked many times.
Can the county close off access to the Mauna Kea access road or to Saddle Road? Is that something that we can do, and is that something that the county can do or the state?
I think in a state of emergency we can. I'm thinking of many times of private roads or county roads or state roads or federal highway we have closed because of some kind of emergency. And I'm sure if the emergency occurred through a state of emergency, we can do that, or the governor can do that.
Speaking to jurisdiction, it was apparent that we had county police officers there a week or so ago. And I'm not going to sugarcoat this. This is going to be a long project, and there are two sides, and there's a neutral side. I mean, there's many sides of this. So as we are looking at a long project, I have to ask questions about how our personnel are there. And that's why I'm asking about jurisdiction. And there's a cost associated with that for the county, and I'm wondering about that cost. And that's why I asked you here today, Chief, to give us just some clarity on what those costs are going to be, how we keep track of these. So if you wouldn't mind coming up and helping me. So I'm going to talk about jurisdiction and access, the funding, and then I have some questions for finance as well. So if you come up, Chief, thank you. Thank you for being here, Chief.
No problem. Good afternoon, council members. Okay, first and foremost, I want to let you know that as law enforcement, our job is to avoid any confrontation as much as possible and seek a peaceful resolution. We fully support Mayor Kim's vision for Mauna Kea. We also support his ongoing discussions with various entities across the state seeking a peaceful resolution. However, as the primary law enforcement agency for Hawaii County, we have jurisdiction over federal, state, and county roads, lands, and the authority to take enforcement action in certain aspects. If you close down, if Saddle Road, you're asking about closing down Saddle Road. Anytime there's an accident on Saddle Road, if there's a natural disaster on Saddle Road, if there's a natural disaster or anything happening throughout the island, we have the authority in the interest of public safety to shut the road down. If the community is in danger, we have the authority to shut it down. In the event that we needed to shut down Daniel K. Inouye Highway, all our planning, what we're looking at is going to be dictated by what happens by the protesters, and will be in the best interest of the community, the safety for the community, the protesters, and the people in the construction workers, and more so our law enforcement officers that are on scene. As far as costs, what are we looking at? Again, that is an unknown. If nothing happens, there's no cost. If something does occur and we do need to activate, there's going to be a cost associated with it. Are we prepared to go out and respond to this event and respond to regular patrol duties? Yes. As you saw in the volcanic eruption in Leilani Estates, we shifted our officers in 2 districts to 12-hour shifts, which allowed us to place officers in the field at the volcanic event, as well as placing them out on the road during their daily operations. Would this happen in the same sense? Yes. We would have to go to 12-hour shifts. Which districts would be affected? Could be the entire island, depending on what the numbers we need. You're asking about how we're going to keep track of it. Same way we keep track of any large-scale event. We keep a separate tally. This is what it's costing the county outside normal operating hours for overtime, for salaries and wages, what have you, for equipment if needed. Is that reimbursable? Possibly, maybe not, I don't know. Is some of it coming from the state? More than likely. Is some of it coming from federal government? I don't believe so. This is not a FEMA activation of any type, so I don't believe that would come into play. Are there going to be costs associated with just us responding or taking care of just the normal day-to-day events that happen, that can occur, not just by a one movement, but for on the long term? Like Mayor Kim said, this is a long-term vision. It's not something that's going to end next week or next month or next year. This is a long-term vision. It's not only about TMT and Mauna Kea. It's about the Hawaiian sovereignty movement. So again, is there cost associated? Yes. You're asking me specifics. I don't have numbers until the event actually unfolds. We keep a separate timesheet indicating what the costs are associated with that event. What it's costing us to have the officers stand the roadblocks, what it's costing us to have the officers patrol in the area. Also, what it's costing us to backfill the 12-hour shifts in the Hilo district or the Hamakua district that we took officers from. Same thing would happen in this situation.
Is there a plan to permanently then use county resources as security once construction of TMT begins?
Our role in this is to ensure public safety and community safety. We're not going to be securing the mountain. We're not going to be providing security at a job site. We're not going to be providing security at a construction site. Our role is to ensure that the roadways stay open.
I have to touch on, though, that the roads are not our jurisdiction, is what we...
If you impede ingress, egress from any road, state or county, it becomes our jurisdiction.
And then, do we know what state agency would reimburse us for these expenses?
It would be the state of Hawaii.
I am worried too about all members of our county. So we have both police and we have both protectors. Are the police officers given a choice in the matter as if they want to work these shifts or not?
No.
So it's irregardless of how they feel about it, they must.
We don't take a position as far as law enforcement being pro or anti, but we do have to do our duty. And we did take an oath of office to enforce the laws of the state of Hawaii and out of the U.S. Constitution. So they will be required to enforce the law. Otherwise, what's the difference if they decide that they're anti-gay LGBT movement and they don't want to work or they don't want to take the complaint? Or the difference if they're anti-abortion and they say, okay, I'm not going to go treat this case. They don't have that options.
I guess it's not so much whether they're for or against it. It's just whether they want to take on the extra duty. I worry about them driving back down the same I worry about anyone driving back down the mountain in the middle of the night.
Unfortunately, it's the price that we pay as officers when we took the oath, that we will work the extra duties.
Has there ever been, just going to shift back to the mayor, has there ever been any legislation that was passed to allow these expenses to occur that sits within our county?
I'm sorry, sir. Can you repeat that?
Has there ever been any legislation that passed before county, before the council, that allows these expenditures to occur with or without our approval?
I cannot think of any time that of law enforcement. There's more than a few times that I've gone to past. Some of you are very actively involved in ensuring some kind of funding support while it was occurring, but not specifically for law enforcement now. But I would say this, I've already talked to the governor's office in regards to if this is going to cost us, you know who I'm going to come after to pay.
This stemmed from two different areas. One, I had a lot of constituents come to me and ask me, to ask these questions. And I have to be, and I like being the conduit for that. That's my job. Secondly, my wife and I visit the Mauna as our schedules permit. 2 weeks ago, we went up to see the stars and breathe a little bit. And when we got to the top, the visitor center was closed. The normal telescopes weren't in operation, so you can't watch. There was no one there offering any information. I watched some of the visiting families who don't speak English stumble around in the dark. I saw a 5-year-old fall in the ditch on the side of the road. I had a security guard yell at them over us to get out of an area that wasn't very clearly marked off. And I watched this happen. Disturbing the peace and what you go there for. I did not get a sense of anything that would even resemble aloha being offered on that mountain. It was not present. And that disturbs me because at the core of all this is our county. And whether you're pro, whether you're con, whether you're neutral, whether you're visiting and you just drove 2 hours to the top of the Mount Kea, that is the experience that was given. And that worries me. So this really comes back to how are we ensuring the welfare and safety of anyone who is on Mauna Kea? Because it doesn't matter what side we're on. It just comes down to how we take care of the people who live here and who are visiting. And that is our responsibility.
As you're speaking, sir, because of my past jobs, wishing we could be better man or do a better job, whether it be a Waipio Valley drowning or eruption site or anything. The management of the mountain is strictly under the Office of Mauna Kea Management as far as below the summit area of the scope. I know, like everything else, there'll be questions of manpower time to do it. I have a lot of dreams about this island. One of them I'm looking at right now that you may have read about, making Hilo Bay beautiful again, of clean water. So it could be a place where the old Hawaiians had hukilaus. The thing that I wrote about Mauna Kea is of a cultural treasure of management also, to change the management area to make it open to, and what you open to make sure that personnel as best as possible. It's a huge, huge area. As you know, we have individual who's been lost up there, and to this day have not even found the body. That kind of danger will always persist when you have God's way of calling people to admire my beauty and they're not careful. One of the visions in regards to this cultural treasure is to do, and I don't have the brains to say how to do it or what to do. These are all the things that task force will have to be created. What kind of programs, what kind of controls for their safety has to be done. But yes, no one is going to deny, just like, we had in the paper recently some people who had the audacity to, I was going to call them skateboards, but they weren't skateboards, whatever they did. And then the disrespect. Naturally, you want programs that can control those people better. And nobody's going to deny that. Because of your question, that's one of my so-called pipe dreams, that this cultural treasure will be able to be developed for people to enjoy, but also respect. And with the respect comes cautions that we must execute. But right now, if you talk about those people that were skateboarding, I think the Office of Mauna Kea Management said, from their viewpoint of where they were, I'll call it skateboarding, but it wasn't that, obviously. They couldn't see. And that's why that, that occurred. And I don't have the idea what it would take to control it. But I think the biggest complaint of some of your constituents or people you talk to is the lack of management of that area. And this, I put a separate category in regards to management. The whole place needs to be management. It is a special gift. And I think this gift can be shared in a good way.
I do need to ask as well, how are we providing Hawaiian practitioners access or an area to practice? And does that fall under the county?
Not under the county, but you know, I know that's an important thing. I learn a lot, even at my old age. I learn a lot, and in regards to how important certain things are. And I remember learning that in 1977, the first volcanic eruption that I was responsible for, because a group of individuals from Kauai wanted to go to a special area in Kalapana, you know, and we allowed it. And you learn about those things. Mauna Kea, that's under the Office of Mauna Kea Management, and I care not to even try to answer that.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Canale.